Hi, my name's Keith Cooper from Northlight Images, and in this short video I'm going to try and answer a question I see posted quite often on forums, and people email me and ask me the same thing as well. It comes down to, is it worthwhile printing your own pictures? Now, at one level I say absolutely, because the sense of achievement as a picture comes out of a printer that you've not seen printed before is tremendous, and it really helps your photography. Now, I've written about aspects about that and done some videos about why you should print. But let's say you've decided to print and you're wondering about the costs. Is it worthwhile just sending your images off to an online lab and sometime later your prints turn up? That is always an option. I'm not going to cover precise costs here because they vary throughout the world, and I know I have just as many viewers in the UK as I do in the US and other parts of the world. So you'll need to look at your local costs. Now, I have put a link at the end of the video in the text with it that goes to a site with some useful indications of print costs. But you have to remember that there is more than just the print costs that come in. Now, if you're actually getting pictures printed, you go, right, this picture here is going to cost me 80 pence to get printed, or £1.50, or whatever. It depends on what the quality of the paper is and loads of other things. That's a fairly straightforward cost. If you want to print your own prints, now this happens to be Canon Pro 200, a dye-based printer, tested others of all different sizes, although mostly larger ones, and you've got the cost of the printer. You've also got the cost of the inks. Now, and I should say obviously the cost of paper. Now, the site that I've linked to has worked out some average costs, and these are using US prices, so do remember to allow for that, for printing a particular size image. And they come to anywhere between, 50 cents and a few dollars. And that's allowing for ink costs, something you have to consider there. Now, outsourcing your printing may sound a good idea, but one of the problems of that is the delay. If I'm learning to print, and we all start at some point in taking our photo and deciding to print them, then there's quite a bit of iterative looking at doing a print, thinking, did that work, did that not work? If you're having to wait for the prints to arrive from wherever you're getting them printed, that can be a serious hindrance on the development of your abilities to edit pictures, to print pictures, and just as importantly, to take pictures which make good print. Because a rubbish picture will make a rubbish print. If it's problems in your photography, you have to address that as well as the mechanics of printing. Now, in looking at when I'm going to send stuff out to get it printed, there's a matter of volume as well. So if I need 100 prints, and I know the image is good for it, I can order 100 prints. That's a lot more economical, probably, and I say probably because you'll need to check the cost, than running 100 sheets of paper through this, using up the ink that I would use, not to mention my time. Oh, that's the other thing you have to think of as a cost of printing. Your time. How much time do you want to devote to this? Now, I happen to enjoy printing a lot. It's one of the reasons I do all these different reviews and things. But when I'm learning, I got through an awful lot of paper just experimenting. Now, I would always suggest that you start your printing, if you've got a new printer, learn to print a perfect version of a test image. Now, I've got downloadable versions of these test images on the Northlight site. That's one for colour. It's a different colour one. And I have one for black and white as well. There are lots of different versions of these, so pick whichever is appropriate. And start with smaller paper. I would not suggest getting a new big printer and immediately start trying to print A2 size prints, if it'll do it, or A3 plus on a printer like this. That's just a guaranteed way to waste ink and paper. So start small, learn how to do it. But we still got the question, of what about the cost of doing it? Now, this printer is not cheap. It's cheaper than the pigment ink based Pro 300, but it's still not cheap. What about if you've got an office printer? How can you get good prints out of those? Well, it turns out that with care and suitable papers, you can get perfectly good prints from what are considered office printers. Now, these are typically limited to A4 size, but they can give very good quality. Not quite up to what you're getting here, and not up to what you're getting on a more expensive pigment ink printer, but very good. And one thing I would say is that if you have a printer, learn how to print good prints on that before getting a larger printer, because it won't magically transform your prints. Because as I've said before, if your images aren't up to it, it doesn't matter how good the printer is, the prints won't look great. So there's actually quite a bit to be said for making use of the printer you've got, learning how to print well on that, and then when your print skills are advanced enough, you can decide on getting another printer, and you'll actually see the benefits for it. Because if all you're doing is getting a printer like this and printing using the standard printer settings, not using anything connected with color management or profiling or anything like that, you're unlikely to see the benefits of it. And I would say, mentioning color management, you need to, for best results, whether you're printing for yourself on your own printer or whether you're outsourcing your printing, you still need your screen accurately set up. Because if your screen is set up wrong, then your prints will come out wrong. But also, your files will have been edited incorrectly. When you send those to a lab, who hopefully do correct color management, they will print what you've sent them. Your print will come back and your print won't look much good. So don't assume that just by outsourcing the printing itself, that magically your prints are going to look better. But anyway, I happen to enjoy printing a lot. So for me, unless it's for commercial use where I need hundreds of pictures, it's always do it yourself. Because when it comes down to it, that has made a tremendous difference to my photography. And if you look at simple costs, then that can give you one answer. But if you look at it in terms of how you progress your photography, the enjoyment you get out of it, the skills you acquire, just as a great thing to do, printing just adds the edge to doing all of your photography. I find it, photography without printing is, to me, just half the job. So hopefully that's of some use. I've got lots of articles on the Northlight website, but what I would say is think beyond the obvious costs as to why you want to do printing. And that can give you a good hint as to whether to go the route of getting other people to print for you or doing your own. Obviously, if you want very large pictures as well, then that tends to need a bigger printer. Start small. If you think you want large prints and you have images up to it, try getting a few printed for you. If you like what you get a bigger printer. If not, well, it hasn't cost you so much. So hopefully that's been of use. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. And do have a look at the articles I write on the Northlight site as well, because they have a lot more detail and have links to other stuff that I've done as well. So thank you very much.